Right, back to your discussion topics. We're now entering Fans Pulse Lap 3 of episode 23. This is likely to be the final discussion topic of this week's episode because we've done a bit of talking, and before you know it, we're well over an hour of content. Okay, let's get into this then. So purely based on observation over time, and we've now had the playoffs for, 12 seasons or something like that. In British Speedway, and we see them also played out in Poland for some time. So based on observation primarily, we have seen some seriously cutthroat grand finals, playoff grand finals. The semi-finals can be quite tasty as well. Riders on the edge, perhaps an uplift in the general level of physicality within the racing. Every point is truly a prisoner. Everything is built up to be absolutely on the line. It literally is win or bust when it comes to playoff speedway. So I wanted to have a little bit of a chat around that, see whether I'm manufacturing or not quite seeing the reality in a discussion that we have labelled Extra Playoff Edge. So guys, put simply, do you agree or do you disagree with me, because you're entitled to, that the playoffs, particularly the grand final itself, in both leagues, has introduced a higher level of competitiveness, a must-win at all cost edge to it that we don't necessarily see throughout the rest of the league season. Nigel Crabtree, top of the heads, views and opinions on what I've just said.
Perfect. I think they're brilliant. And so do the crowds, don't they? The crowd, it speaks for itself. You know, a lot of people watched that meeting on Monday, wasn't it, at Leicester? And there was one point in it, wasn't there? And of 30 races, there was 1 point in it. There was a big crowd at Sheffield for it, big crowd at Leicester for it. Cracking meeting, great advert for Speedway. I think the Bellevue-Ipswich thing, I had a good crowd at Bellevue, and I'm sure there was a good crowd at Ipswich for it. Ipswich walked away with it. I've heard the moans and groans, it was wet and it's the wrong time to be having playoffs. What a load of rubbish. We're only in September. It isn't the wrong time at all. It's perfect. Coming towards the end of the season, it might be a bit damp some nights, but get on with it. Great time to have them. People always say, we need to do like Poland. We are doing, and when we do like Poland, we get knocked again. The playoffs, for me, great. And the final, Leicester and Ipswich, isn't it? You know, the crowds will speak for itself, how good it is and how entertaining it is. It'll be two great meetings, and I hope Leicester win, just for whatever. Be nice for another to be there, be nice.
I think Lawrence here might have a difference of opinion. Lawrence, let's ask you about that. But talking about playoff speedway generally, Lawrence, do you agree with me? Do you sense, like I do, that it's much more cut and thrust, and the sort of pressure, the win at all cost pressure, brings out something, an extra edge in the riders, Lawrence?
Yeah, definitely. There has been one of the positive things that they've done with Speedway. There is the old argument for whoever wins at the end of the season, the top of the table should be the champions. You always got that sort of argument, but I think this has really worked. It's one of the things that has worked, and especially now they've tweaked the rule about the strengthen just for the playoffs, so you can just scrape the playoffs and then change the team. So they've altered that, so that's made it much fairer across the board. And at the end of the day, you've got that home and away, one of those two meetings there to really push a boat out, really pull out all the stops and give it your all, and then those two meetings and you could be champions. So they really have been a positive thing. I agree with Nigel that they've really been. I don't think we're ever going to go back to anything else. We just elevate your game, that sort of thing. Just same as really. I don't think the Grand Prix will never go back to not having semis and a final. That's worked. Same as that. I think that sudden death sort of finale at the end and the crescendo, and that's the big bang to the end of the season, and the crowd obviously support that as well. So yeah, big plus.
It's hard to argue against that, Lawrence. I'm going to let you have a pop back at Nigel. Nigel reckons that Leicester are going to do the witches in the final. Lawrence, tell him why he's wrong.
Yeah, I think Ipswich would have preferred Leicester than Sheffield. They're beating Leicester home and away, and Sheffield did turn Ipswich over recently. It's a bit of a shock, you know, at Foxhall. So, and obviously the season before, Ipswich went to Sheffield with quite a big lead, and then just watched that completely get demolished within about 5 heats. So you can easily go down at Sheffield, you know, by a lot of points, get hammered there. So no, I think a bit, and Leicester didn't quite look so strong at home the other night as well. They looked a little bit vulnerable here and there. You know, people all have their off nights, but I think Ipswich will be pleased that they've got Sheffield, Leicester over Sheffield, and I think I'll give the edge to. I'm not biased at all, but I think I'll give the edge to Ipswich here. Right.
I think you are, Love. I think you are.
Carol, just to bring you in, Carol. So you have first-hand experience of the cut and thrust and the pressure cauldron situation of playoff speedway. Do you agree with the overall sentiment, Carol? But the tag-on question is, having worked with riders who are involved in grand finals, do you sense from the riders themselves that they're prepared just to push the boundaries a little bit more in playoff speedway, Carol?
Yeah, simply because you've rode all season for this moment. That's the way you look at it. It's you've rode all season for this final, and this is it. This is the big meeting. Not just the pressure on the riders. We feel the pressure. I felt the pressure as team manager. I felt the pressure as promoter. You don't want to make the wrong decision, you know, by taking a rider out of a heat or bringing a reserve in here, and you make that one mistake and that could define your season. So there's that added pressure, and it is, and it makes for excitement. Obviously, the added bonus for the grand finals is the crowds. The crowds that we've had at grand finals, they've been huge, and if we go back to the team sponsorship and the season ticket sales at the start of the season sets you up financially for the season. You get to the grand final with a massive crowd, that sets you up for the winter, ready for the new season. So if you've got any riders that haven't been paid, they get paid. If you've got anything outstanding, it gets sorted, and then you roll it on to next year. And you know, so there's obviously that advantage of being in the playoffs, and yeah, there's always that edge, because one bad ride, you know, can lose you that final. And I look at Sheffield and Leicester on Monday. Going back to that fantastic meeting, great product considering the week before, you know, Ipswich, which was, you know, not so clever. But you know, you look at the Leicester meeting, and I think Chris Holder probably let Sheffield down a little bit, and he would, you know, and that's not him. You know, he's been good for him. He had a poor meeting, and they lost the meeting, and it. You know, that's just the way it goes, and it all hinges on that one meeting. We've said this before. I've said it. You know, we've been in that position that we've lost, you know, player finals and semi-finals and cup finals because of riders having an off night or an injury, and it hurts you, and there's no way of coming back from it. So yeah, the added pressure is there, and some riders enjoy that pressure, other riders don't, and it's like you can see almost like the tension inside them, and they need a good ride, or they need a couple of good rides to get that out, and then they relax. But you can certainly see it in a grand final rather than an average league meeting. You know, sometimes they have a bad night on a league meeting and other riders perform, and it doesn't cost you. But in a grand final, everybody wants it. You want that gold medal.
Nigel, just picking up on what Carol said, you know, riders respond differently to pressure, but I'm conscious that, involved in playoff speedway, in the high pressure of playoff speedway, will be some riders who are a lot less experienced. I'm thinking of the reserve riders typically, and given the sort of must win attitude and sentiment that everyone wraps around the playoffs, is speedway being a little bit unfair on some of those less experienced riders to put those riders in that position where they might feel that they need to put themselves in positions that they might not be comfortable in doing, Nigel, if that makes sense?
No, not at all, Derek. I don't think. They've rode in the team all year, haven't they? They've been a part of that team. They've been under pressure all year. Everybody's under pressure. No, I don't think so. I think it's good for them. Dan Thompson, Thompson twins, if you like. You've got to get used to them situations if they're going to make it big, which I'm sure Dan Thompson, I hope so, smashing lad, he's going to be in the playoffs with Glasgow, isn't he? He's in all the big meetings at the end of the season with Glasgow. Do him the world of good, do him good, and I don't think it'll bother him in the slightest. Just like in the playoffs in the Elite League, your Jack Holders and everybody, I don't think it worries them too much, the pressure for that. What I do think it brings out the best in, riders like Kyle Howarth, who I believe is an absolute team man, and he's desperate for his team to win, whether it be Leicester, it be Glasgow, and he's an out-and-out team man. And will want to perform on them playoff nights. He will want the best out of himself for his team, and things like that's good. Kyle Howarth, on Monday night rode extremely well, didn't he?
He did.
It meant a lot to him, and that's great that the club means a lot to that rider. Great stuff, and you'll have seen it week in and week out, I'm sure, up at Glasgow with Kyle Howarth.
He's been superb all season long, as Kyle. Yeah.
And
Lawrence,
Go on, Derek.
Entirely, Nigel. That's okay, Lawrence. Just to pick up on what Nigel was saying there. Some riders probably prefer individual success, right? Some riders are a bit more individual. The majority of riders, I would imagine, are keen to have team success, and obviously, playoff speedway is all about team success. But no rider wants to finish runners up in the league, Lawrence. And I know we've mentioned the words a few times already in this discussion, but playoff speedway, especially the final in particular, it is winner takes all, and you can understand why riders might be prepared, as Carol confirmed earlier, just to put themselves about that little bit more, Lawrence, in that grand final.
Yeah, definitely. It's like it says, it's the whole season accumulating into that. These two meetings, and with the crowds, the big crowds elevate. Riders. The riders riding. They can. The crowd can sort of buoy them and gee them up and that sort of thing. Elevate to somewhere else that that's a bit special. So I think there's a lot of guys are team men over. They prefer that than individuals as well. I think Jason Doyle would ask a question of what if he could have one wish. I think it would be win with Ipswich. I recently saw an interview with him somewhere, and he was asked that question, and he actually stated that over individual honours.
Very good. Yeah.
So it means a lot to them, and these guys have been riding at Ipswich. A lot of them have been there a good few years now, and that's the one they haven't won. So I think we're in for a good one there. Two couple of cracking meetings coming up at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
The end of the season,
I've got to say, in the last decade in particular, not very often beforehand, but being a Glasgow fan, I've been very fortunate to be involved and experience firsthand a number of playoff semis and a couple of finals as well. We've only won one, but there is something as a spectator on the night of a playoff final in particular. You can feel the difference. You can sense the occasion. you want desperately to feel the elation at the end of the night and not come out on the losing side. And sadly, of course, someone has to. Carol, just to flip this a little bit, there are plenty of supporters. Nigel and Lawrence and yourself, I think, have made a case that the playoffs must stay. They do add something for Speedway, but there's lots of Speedway fans, traditionalists or otherwise, who aren't big fans of the playoffs. They think it's a bit of a gimmick, and that the top of the league at the end of the regular season should be crowned league champions, etc. But I want to allow you to consider the prospect that British Speedway chose to stand down the playoffs. In retrospect, would the sport lose that dramatic finale that Nigel was talking about?
Yeah, I'm a sort of fan of the playoff final because of what it brings to the clubs and to the supporters and to the riders. I'm not a fan of the system. Obviously, I've been in a position that, we topped the league. We got nothing for it. We got injuries going into the playoffs, and it cost us winning a league title. So, I still think over the season, you finish top of the league, you should be league champions, in my opinion. That's my opinion. And then if they want to run a different trophy at the end of the season, then run a separate trophy at the end of the season. Yes, it makes it exciting that, the playoffs, somebody who finishes fourth and could be 20, 25 points behind could end up winning the league, and they haven't been the best team over the season. Whereas the team that finishes top is obviously the most consistent. They're the best team over the season. That's a proven fact. It's not by luck, by chance that they're there. They're there on merit. And you can have one off night and lose everything that you've earned or should have earned over the season. So, I like the entertainment of the playoffs for what it does for the clubs, for the riders, for the fans. But I'm not a fan of the system, I have to say. It makes it entertaining, but I'd prefer to have a league champion and then have something after that involves all the clubs, if that's the case, or the top four, however you want it to, and have something on it. Finish top of the league, you're league champions, well done, you get your massive trophy, you get X amount of pounds for winning the league, which we don't get, but let's do that because it puts more of an incentive. And then let's move into a trophy at the end of the season with the top four clubs, that again you earn a trophy for that and you earn X amount of pounds for that. It gives the other teams something to fight for that have lost out on the league, but it keeps the entertainment value going that little bit longer as well. So that's where I'm at, and I don't know if any of the other boys are on the same opinion or as me. So
I think a lot of supporters would be supportive of.
Okay. Yeah, I don't believe that works out. If you're not careful, it'll just become another challenging match, won't it? And the crowd won't come for them. I know what you mean. You rode all you deserve, you finished top of the league, and you've won it. But for them four clubs, and it's such a big thing to get to them playoffs, isn't it? And such a big financial help to get to them playoffs and the final. Like you said, it sets you up for the following season with the crowd you can finish off with the last two meetings of the season. I think, just creating another cup competition, I don't think it'd have the same appeal. But, until you try, you don't know. But I'm sure they spoke about that. Once upon a time, didn't they have the bottom four or something in a sort of a playoff? I can't remember. But I think the playoffs, they seem to work. The crowd love them. People moan about it, but while they're moaning, they're talking about this job, aren't they? So I think it's
Lawrence, what's your own view on that? If we if to Carol's point, if the playoffs were to win some trophy which wasn't the league championship, if it was a cup effectively, would that be any less dramatic an end to the season? Would it sort of dilute the drama and the tension?
I think it does, Derek. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, this is called the playoffs for the league. And I think you just water it down with you. I think you'd lose that appeal. The crowd sees it all, doesn't it? For them last few meetings, the stadiums are packed. The answer is in bums on seats, isn't it?
Yeah. Lawrence, what's your views on that same question?
Yeah, it's always, as I touched on before, there's always a lot of sympathy, sympathy for that. Like Carl said, I remember that repeatedly, top of the league, and then you end up with nothing. But it's always going to happen, every now and again. I think Glasgow, Paul now pretty much well ahead, in the Championship League. So it's law of averages are sort of one out there, really. But always got sympathy for that sort of thing. But I can see what you mean. You have some sort of something at the end that would mean for something else, but it would take the edge off that, the big finale sort of thing. So I think we're pretty much here to stay now. I think this has become established. Now and again, you're going to get the fevers like that. I'm sure, where they're going to be hit. And as I said before, we've tweaked the strength up purposely for those playoffs. You're going to have injury department for over the season as well. But I think this is here to stay now. So I think it does add a lot to it.
So there you are, 360 Speedsters. I think in summary, the settled will of this week's panel is that the playoffs are a good thing for Speedway. They do deliver year on year in terms of the drama and the tension. And if you haven't ever been involved in one, or you haven't attended it as a neutral, you might not be able to tangibly relate to just how dramatic and tense that these things are. But you'll have your own view. That is a controversial subject. I know that lots of supporters are less than favourable when it comes to the playoff system. What's your own view? Do share it with us. Please do be interactive. Please do hit that thumbs up right here, right now. If you haven't hit thumbs up on watching this discussion topic, please do that now on YouTube, and that will do us the world of good. Listen, we'll draw a close to episode 23. There is one discussion topic that you did vote for us to discuss. We will roll that over to next week's episode, and that is fan loyalty. Can supporters emotionally support more than one club? We will absolutely pick that discussion topic up on episode 24 next week. Carol, Lawrence, Nigel, thank you very much for your company tonight and all your input, all your brain power. Listen, as ever, if you're still involved trackside before in the coming weeks between now and the end of October, hope you enjoy is likely to be playoff Speedway that you're going along to see. So support your team, turn out in force. Even as a neutral, make a point of going along to one of those playoff events, and you will not regret it, I can assure you. Anyway, look after yourselves, keep talking Speedway, keep thinking Speedway. See you next week. Good night.
Good night.
See ya.
Right.